there are much big. It's not to that level, but there are much bigger issues with Jalen Hurts in the passing game, in my opinion, than worrying about his design run level in the first 12 games of the game. But that's just my opinion.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Monday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, JMac, John McMullen, back with another week for you coming off of NFL Week 13. JMac, how you doing this Monday morning, my friend?
Doing well. Trying to recover from a bad weekend of football. A lot of ugly games out there. But
yeah, really ugly games, John, across the NFL. It seems to be the ugly product that you've talked about is whacking us all in the face here this year with the NFL. John, plenty of stuff to talk about. If you want to start on what stuck out to you yesterday, I'm happy to start there. Obviously, the Eagles game feels a little bit like a distant memory, although it's not. We'll talk a little bit about that today, but plenty more storylines to get into as well. John, what stuck out to you from the weekend of football, my friend?
Every time the Eagles don't play and they're on a weird game, I think only good things happen. Maybe that's the route to the Super Bowl. Don't play, because the Rams obviously have a chance to, cement their status as the top team, and they're I think a 10-point favorite. They lose to Carolina on the road. Couldn't stop them. Matthew Stafford turning the football over. Just a poor performance by them. Even though Carolina certainly deserves some credit as an improving team. Buccaneers, again, I don't believe in that team a little bit. Got a scratch and claw at home to beat Jonathan Gannon's Cardinals. Poor JG. I know nobody's going to care about that. He's probably going to get fired at the end of the season. He just can't win close games. The Chargers, I mean, that's who the Eagles play next, a week from tonight. And they beat the Raiders. Okay. Justin Herbert breaks his non-throwing hand. So he's getting surgery today. We'll see how that affects him. Saw Dr. Chow out there saying he thinks he's tough. He'll play through it, but clearly he's not going to be 100%. So that trends in the Eagles' favor.
Herbert did say he was going to prepare to play as well, but non-throwing hand. How much?
And if he doesn't play, it's Trey Lance. So, and then Marcus Mariota, which I missed when the name changed, evidently. Takes the Broncos to the limit in overtime, but the Broncos persevered. I think they've won 9 straight. Boy, there's no dominant teams, man. So I know everybody's down on and Seattle obviously was the one dominant team, but I can't take that seriously. Max Brosmer, I said, I guarantee for people that say I'm never wrong, I was wrong. Max Brosmer was worse than JJ McCarthy. I mean, that team, if you look at EPA, just quarterback games, they have 5 of the worst quarterback games this year between McCarthy and now poor Max Brosmer. And I don't know if you saw the pick 6 in that game. It is one of the most embarrassing plays I've ever seen an NFL quarterback make. So Seattle was the one good team that handled its business, but I don't know how seriously you can take that, because by the way, they did not play well offensively. They struggled to score points mightily, but it was just so bad on the other side offensively. It felt like it was 40-0 the entire game. So I don't know if they proved anything. Bunch of just mediocre teams masquerading as contenders. And evidenced by that, and all due credit, and the number 1 seed in the NFC as we wake up today is the Chicago Bears.
Incredible.
And look, if you have to go to Chicago and beat that team, you're really that fearful of that?
No.
I'd be like, I'll take that shot. So, I realize everybody's down on the Eagles. It ain't over yet, man. No, it ain't over yet, because nobody wants this thing.
I agree with you, John. I think, people got to hang in there. Hopefully the Eagles can find playing their best football down the stretch. But, John, let's get into it, man. They have not played their best football. They have not looked well. And going back to Friday, the game on Friday, before I get into some specific questions I have for you, You slept on it for the weekend, man. What's your thought on that Eagle Friday game where they got their ass beat by the Chicago Bears to the tune of 281 rushing yards? Not a whole lot of offense in that football game. What did you make of it, John? What's your evolved thoughts here on Monday morning?
Yeah, I mean, I still look. The longer term, I think there's two parts to this. The longer term issue is obviously the offense, which has been an issue all season. I agree with that. But I think everybody's given the defense a get out of jail free card. Like I'm still astonished that they gave up 281 rushing yards to that team. I'm still astonished by it. I can't. I mean, it's the most in 10 years. It's the most in the Vic Fangio era by over 100. I mean, it was just it was embarrassing, and it was the same play over and over again. And everybody's focused on the misdirection stuff. Yeah, that caught him a couple times, but that wasn't the big deal was power.
Yeah, they were blowing the defensive line right off the ball. I mean, not even
Completely washing them down again and again and again. And no, and as I said, Jalen Carter maybe had his worst game as a professional, and he talked about it. He said something cryptic about he's dealing with some stuff, and I don't.
Yeah, can you? I meant to tell you to elaborate on that today. I don't know if now's the time to do it. If you want to get into it,
I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about.
Well, I was re-listening to our Saturday show, and I'm like, I'm surprised I didn't follow up on that, John. You went down that road. You're like, he spoke after the game. He had his worst game ever. He said some cryptic things. What exactly did he say, John?
Said he's dealing with some stuff, and I don't. It's not injury. He said he's better from an injury standpoint.
Right.
Now he's been dealing with the shoulder thing, but again, if you're injured, you're not going to talk after the game. You're going to be with the training staff, and they're gonna handle it that way. So it wasn't that, and I if I had any information, I'd give it to you. But all I know is he played an awful football game. And anybody, watched the tape, and he just, and that obviously affected the linebackers. N'Kobe Dean had a really poor game. Everybody, when you give up 281 yards, guess what?
Yeah, right.
Everybody has a bad game. And
Byron Young played a lot, John.
Yeah, he did. He played more, and he didn't play well.
No,
except for that 4th and 1 play.
Was getting destroyed in that game.
Yeah. So you have to wonder. Now they played a lot of defensive snaps because they couldn't get off the field, and the offense couldn't get, and all of that contributed. But Jalen Carter took a lot of the blame for it, no question. But he took accountability, so that's a positive aspect to it. But I don't know. It was very uncharacteristic.
Yeah, there's going to be some big questions coming up with Jalen Carter too, John. I mean, look, he's a great player. He's obviously capable of a whole lot, but it would be very easy to make an argument he has not done the proper things to, elevate himself to the.
I'm looking here. So here's the exact quote. He said, "I blame myself for that. There were some runs out there that I drove back and wasn't able to have an effect on the play. So he was aware he was getting blown off the ball. It's my problem to deal with. I won't tell you what I'm going through." So there it is.
Interesting stuff there from that perspective. John, a couple other things I wanted to talk about here this morning from weekend reports that I saw. I saw Jimmy Kempski and I saw Jeff McLean on his podcast. Both spoke about the reason for the no quarterback runs is Jalen Hurts doesn't want him anymore. Jalen Hurts does not want designed QB runs in the offense. At least that's what Jimmy Kempski wrote, and that's what Jeff McLean had said on his podcast. We've talked about quarterback runs a lot this year. What do you make of those two reports and your thoughts on how it's impacted the Eagles' offense and just your thoughts on it as a whole?
Yeah, well, they have quarterback runs. So, to me, it's they've run them. They're there. They picked them up a little bit more recently, but they're down significantly. So I think the better way to frame it is, he doesn't want to do it as much, which I think is just the natural evolution as you get older in this league. The mortality of this league, the realization, that Jalen Hurts doesn't want to be, one of these mobile quarterbacks who have to retire early because they're half dead from a physical standpoint. So I think there's part of that is certainly true, but obviously they're still in there. They still use them. They've had a couple quarterback draws that have been very, very successful, but at the same time, they're much down from when he was a younger player.
Yeah.
So yeah,
they're way down. So I saw somebody put out the number.
Yeah, there's no doubt that he wants to evolve his game. I don't think there's anything bad with that. I just like that people are finally talking about some of the issues, which we've talked ad nauseum here, about this particular quarterback and his playing style. But yeah, I mean, it's a give and take. I understand it. But, for this team to be successful, they probably got to amp it up. And I've always thought they will amp it up. They've already started to ramp it up. I think he's on board with that as far as, when it becomes more high leverage, not to say when you're playing for the number one seed, it's not high leverage. But obviously we're talking more of the playoffs, things like that. Then I think you'll see him doing whatever it takes. It's a tough sport. You're trying to manage your way through it. I think because of his physical nature, and everybody talks about how powerful he is, and which is true, and everybody, for the most part, he's very mobile. He avoids hits, and people are like, he's fine. Nobody's fine in this league. When you get whacked, it has an impact on you. So yeah, I think that's just the natural evolution of him trying to both improve, other parts of his games that have been deficient, and
have they though? I mean, that's the problem. Without the
I mean, they're
doing what he needs to do to will this team to victory. They are objectively an awful offense all year, John.
Yeah, well, to me, the larger issue has always been, him not being comfortable with parts of the playbook, which pretty much erase that parts of the playbook, and then you become, well, they're not going to do this, and then you become what everybody complains about, which has always existed. And I'm glad people are talking about it. To me, that's the bigger part. That's the far bigger part of it, to me. But
we'll elaborate on that.
Well, the things you don't see consistently, throwing over the middle of the field, throwing seam routes consistently. Not once, not saying you can't do it. And everybody, well, he hit Dallas Goedert in week 6. These are staples in NFL offenses.
Right. They're not supposed to be few and far between.
Yeah. That kind of stuff. It is, to me, has always been the biggest problem, and they try to mask it, and then the coaches get shit, and but that's their job. So, they're trying to accentuate what they have, and they've done it pretty well for a large part. But sometimes when you get in these ugly stretches, it looks pretty ugly. It's not Max Brosmer ugly, but it's pretty ugly.
Yeah, no, it's definitely pretty ugly. So there's only been 19 plays this season total, John, that have been non-tush-push designed runs for Jalen Hurts. He's averaging 6.8 yards per carry on those plays, but that's definitely a low number, a lot lower than we're used to seeing. It felt like once upon a time Jalen ran the ball a lot, and it worked very, very well. So I don't know what to make. I don't know what to make of it outside of it, John, that I think it's a big problem because I don't think Jalen Hurts is built to just win games from the top. I really
don't. 19 proves it's in there. What was the number you said?
19, yeah, 19 plays.
19 proves it. Do you have the old numbers? I'm sure
no,
Jeff
I don't. Anthony DeBona put up the 19.
By the way, Jeff's on. Did I text you?
Oh, yeah, I figured Jeff was. I'll send him the link.
So Jeff will probably have that number. And it's down. I'm not arguing it's down. It's clearly down. and certainly clearly down significantly from, say, like 2021,
Right.
his first year as a starter. But I'd be interested to see how much but it is down, and I think it's going to amp up as I said, you get the higher leverage situations. And if they can get there and persevere and be in a position, like I said, if you imagine a playoff game in Chicago and then you pull it out and they're not expecting it, maybe it becomes impactful for you. So there's some positive to it, but I don't think that's even near the biggest problem with Jalen Hurts. Like, to me, that's like complaining about the 2-point conversion of and down 15 points. It's like, okay, you can complain about it, but ultimately, whatever you decide doesn't matter because you're down 15 points with 3 minutes left in the game. Like, who gives a shit? That was my exact title of that column. Not, I didn't put shit in there. Who cares was what I said. You're down 15. You're playing the odds. So it's like lottery. There's 99.5% chance you're going to lose that game. And maybe doing it the way they did it knocks down the 99.2. You're still going to lose the game. Who cares? There are much big. It's not to that level, but there are much bigger issues with Jalen Hurts in the passing game, in my opinion, than worrying about his design run level in the first 12 games of the game. But that's just my opinion. I just think there's bigger issues with this quarterback, significantly bigger issues.
I agree. I don't disagree with you. I think they're both issues. John, I saw from Shil Kapadi. Now, this was put out after the game. I'm not sure if the number has changed after more of the Week 13 games have happened, but they're 28th in offensive success rate, John. They're worse than
they're
the Jets. It's the worst offensive success rate for an Eagles team through Week 13 in the last 20 years. I mean, this offense is awful, John. It's an awful offense. As we've talked about, by the way, all year long, much to everybody
I talked about it last year.
Yeah.
It was awful from a passing perspective. What helped? What they're down 100. They were down coming into the game. I don't know after. They were down 144% efficiency in running the football. 144%, which I joke is not even a real number. 100% is 100%. They're down 144%. They were down coming into that game 37% from a passing efficiency, which is significant, not good, but not even close to being as bad as what they're down in the running game. And overall, they were down 87%. So yeah, I mean, it stinks. It stinks, and there's a lot of reasons it stinks, but you know, I know everybody wants to blame the coaches, and that's fine. Blame them all you want, but I mean, they can't go out on the field.
And
Players,
as you alluded to a couple minutes ago, they can't really go deep in the playbook. It sounds like
no, cannot, no. Well, the idea I've tried to explain to people so many times.
Yeah, I know, but I think we need to spend some time on this, John, because people are just not getting it. The amount of times I'm getting comments of like, it's because they run the same plays over and over again. This is why Jalen is struggling. And is it that, or is it simply they can't go deeper because Jalen doesn't want to go deeper in the playbook? Like
I realize it's very hard for people who are emotional about a particular team, but if you could think about it from the standpoint of any other team that maybe you don't care about, and you have a 15, 20-year NFL coach and you say, well, they can't run a crossing pattern or they can't run a mesh route. What makes sense? That they don't know that, or that the quarterback isn't comfortable with it? What makes more sense?
Yeah. Well, I know what makes more sense to me, but good luck telling a Jalen Hurts fan that.
Well, exactly. Believe me, I've been trying. But now I find it ironic there's other voices bringing up these issues. I mean, these issues have existed for a long time.
Yeah.
There were 7 games of awful passing performance last season. But again, they won the Super Bowl. So, top 5 quarterback. Come on, guys.
John,
Never
if I'm
existed.
wrong, so going back to the game real quick, and we'll stay on this offense, but I rewatched the game again this weekend. I know it was brutal again. It's the third time I've watched a stupid game. I'm never going to watch it again. I'm done. I still don't think the defense was the bigger problem. I know 281 yards in the ground. John, they only had 10 points on the board against after 3 quarters of play. They had the ball. The Eagles had the ball. They tied. They could have tied.
I agree.
And then they got the ball back at their own 30 or the Bears 30-yard line or wherever it was. I mean, the Eagles had every opportunity if the offense could just do anything consistently to win that game, even with the defense getting destroyed from snap number 1 in the run game. Now, I'm not saying you're wrong that it wasn't an impact to run game. It absolutely was. But if the offense wasn't maybe the worst offense, one of the worst offenses in pro football, maybe we're not as much as talking about it as much because they can move the ball. They don't lead the league in 3 and outs, and they can put more than 9 points on the board.
Well, I think from a macro standpoint, yeah. I mean, it's much more the offense, like I said.
I mean, even in that game though,
in a particular game, when you give up 281 rushing yards, you got destroyed from what they pride themselves in. Tough detail together, whatever Nick's t-shirt slogan is. We're always more physical. No, you got destroyed by Darnell Wright. You got destroyed by DeAndre Swift. You got destroyed by Kyle Monangai. Destroyed.
Yeah, but they never really capitalized on it, the Bears, until late in the game.
And that's fine. And they deserve credit for holding in and making the play. Even the interception, the Jalen Hunter, that should have turned the game. But a lot of that, again, nobody wants to look at it from the Chicago perspective and what the hell Ben Johnson was doing in the second quarter, because he was obviously aware of the weather issues because he made the right decision at the coin toss. And then all of a sudden, he doesn't have the wind in the second quarter, and he's running the football down the Eagles' throat, and he stops.
I know.
And he lets the quarterback throw it 10 straight times.
He had a bad second and third quarter, Ben Johnson.
So, yes, they hung in there, and I think those were more self-inflicted wounds by the Bears because they never stopped running the football. The only reason they stopped, it could have been 330, 281. It could have been 330.
Yeah.
And I'm just pulling a number out of my hat, obviously, but yeah, I can't, and I get everybody loves Vic. I love Vic. And it's rare when you can point to a Vic Fangio game and say, "What are you doing, dude?" But this is the game you can point at. Hey, he's a human being. Everybody has bad games. They had a bad game defensively. They have a bad game offensively every week. So I just think people are overlooking just how bad that defense was in that game. I mean, it was 10 years. They haven't done it.
I'm not trying to say it wasn't a problem. I was more just saying it felt like even with that happening, if the offense could have just capitalized, the Eagles still would have won the football game. I'm not saying it's a good thing to give up what they gave up. It's obviously brutal. But it didn't feel like the main reason they lost the game to me because the offense had every chance.
Well, anytime you give up 281 yards rushing in an NFL game, you're probably going to lose that game.
I agree. But do you not agree the Eagles had a chance to win? I mean, Jalen fumbled. They were down 10-9.
Well, yeah, and I kind of blame that on the other side, going away from it. I mean, it wasn't, other than the Jalix Hunt, that was a really nice play. And then anytime you turn the football over and give somebody a short field, it's obviously a positive from a defensive standpoint. So, yeah, I mean, it's not like every play was bad, but they knew what they were doing, and they just got worse and worse. And then part of it is, yes, the offense can't convert. But, again, and Vic will tell you this. He might not do it in public, but he'll tell you this. Defensive coordinators in this league basically invite you to run. Because of what we're talking about, all these efficiency numbers. You take last year for an example. Only 12 NFL teams had a positive efficiency EPA standpoint while running the football. 12 of 32. 21, I believe, had a positive from passing the football. It's much easier to pass the football in this league to run the football. So most defensive coordinators are like, please run it. Please run it. They want you to run it. And they will take some of the 5-yard runs and some of the 6-yard runs and versus the explosive plays in the passing game. That's the modern NFL with 95% of defensive coaches. So part of it is, you're like, all right, you want to run the ball, go run the ball, and we'll figure it out and we'll stop you. It might be, you might even get gashed, and then you get the one negative play, and then you're behind the sticks and you're off the field.
Right.
They couldn't get off the field.
No, they couldn't. Yeah. I can't blame Vic though, John. We don't blame Patullo for the offense. I can't blame Vic.
Well, it's always the players. The players got washed out. I said Jalen Carter. I said Kobe Dean first. It's always players. The players are not performing well. But Vic does get a pass for everybody.
I wonder if there's a blueprint out there right now. I think the Chargers had 160 plus yards of rushing yesterday in their game, and they might be getting Omarion Hampton back next week. Now they played the Saints, but shit, I don't know if the Eagles are that much. Well, I don't know how much better the Eagles are than the Saints.
Well, they actually played the Raiders.
The Raiders, that's what I meant. Sorry, I meant the Raiders. My bad. Yeah.
And the Eagles get the Raiders after the Chargers. So, that's what I said. Things are not as bad as they may seem. Because you have a Chargers team with a hurt quarterback and no tackles because their tackles are out. They can't protect them. And then you have a Raiders team that is just an abject disaster. They do have Brock Bowers. He'll probably make a couple great plays, but that's about it. They're 2-9 or whatever they are. It doesn't look as bad as it may seem. And to your point about the Chargers, they had a 60-yard run, I think, from that kid Vidal.
Yeah.
So you have to another thing, because generally when you have those big rushing games, that's what happens. You have these massive, like the Eagles last year with Saquon. Swift's longest run was 23 yards. Nice little chunk, but 23 yards. No home run.
Yeah, so you're saying that was more of just a consistent.
Just beating the shit out of them. It was bad. All I'm saying is it's bad. I wish somebody would recognize it. It was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and anytime you give up 281 yards on the ground, you're probably going to lose the football game.
Yeah, and the other thing rewatching that game you see is Saquon Barkley really isn't the same player. I mean, even just watching the contrast between him and DeAndre Swift and Kyle Mononga, like when those guys run through the handoff and they're hitting the hole quick. Saquon seems to be jumping through handoffs where he's like almost looking to juke. Now, maybe that is because of the offensive line, but he is not hitting the hole like he did a year ago. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, not even close. I mean,
yeah.
It's not the offensive line is, again, both of them played at a historic level. So, it's not just him, but clearly he's not the same player.
Yeah. Agreed.
But I this is a lot like the Giants, Saquon Barkley. And maybe last year was an outlier. Maybe it isn't. Maybe this is the player he is. Which I think is even more likely.
Yeah, well, last year right now is the outlier. That's for sure.
Because he looks the same physically. He continues to say he's the same physically. This looks a lot like the Giants' Saquon Barkley, which is a good player, but not a great player.
Fair enough. John, let's get to some super chats. We're going to have Jeff Kerr in here. I think he's coming in around 8:30, so he'll be in here in just a second. Tyler Kilgore, what's up, Tyler? Can John convince Lurie to start Tanner or Sam? Oh, gosh, we're not getting the Sam Howell mention on here on December.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. So, according, and I don't know, these are not confirmed, by the way, but real quick, design runs Jalen Hurts 4.5 2021, 4.9 2022, 3.5 2023, 3.7 last season. So he's significantly down. That part is certainly
What's the number
true.
this year?
Well, you gave me 19, so
19,
he's under
yeah.
2. Now I do think that'll kick up as we get later. So it's significantly down, but I think there are bigger issues is all I'm trying to say.
Fair enough. People are not happy with the
But
offense.
no, I cannot convince Jeffrey Lurie to start Tanner McKee. Come on, guys. Please. Come on.
All legal. I don't think people understand the level of politicking that would have to go into a decision like that. All Eagle says the days of Tom Brady, Peyton, Rivers, and Breeze are gone, fellas. Do you see these QBs over the weekend? It's awful.
Oh my God, it's brutal. It is brutal. It is absolutely brutal. It is awful what has happened to this sport. And it's all because nobody can play the quarterback position. Right. And obviously there's some very good quarterbacks, but it seems they get shorter and shorter. Like I was watching Marcus Murray Ota last night. And I'm like, this guy's like not bad, just because he knows how to play at this stage of the game. It took him a long time, but it's like a breath of fresh air. The ball's going where it's supposed to go and understands situations for the most part. And it's like a breath of fresh air. You watch these young quarterbacks, and I take Max Brosmer, JJ McCarthy off the table because they've been, historically bad. But you look at Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick. It's like, this is a number 1 overall pick. And then people will point to the 2 teams at the top right now, the Bears and the Broncos. Well, they're second-year quarterbacks, and they're having success. But you saw the Bears up close. It's very stilted. You saw the Broncos early, very stilted. It's like they make plays because of their athleticism and their abilities, which are obviously top tier, but the consistency is just not there. And that's what the league is becoming. And, and everybody can have bad games, but I'd rather have Matthew Stafford out there, and he's an example. He had a bad game. He turned it over a couple times and they lose. I'd rather have Dak Prescott, which I know people don't want to hear. Jordan Love is sort of straddling that line. He can still got work to do, but at least seems to understand what he's doing. Jalen seems to understand what he's doing, even though he's limited. He's not comfortable doing certain things. It's getting smaller and smaller, man. And that's why when people start talking about Eagles fans hate, but it's Herbert week for some weird reason. Like that guy can play when he's healthy and protected. Joe Burrow, that guy can play. It's getting smaller and smaller, though. Smaller and smaller.
Here's Carlos. What's up, Carlos? There was very little motion with Rivers, and he threw for 20.
He didn't like motion. Philip didn't like motion because he could read it himself. He liked formational stuff.
Yeah. He didn't need the motion to identify what the defense was in.
He hated it, as a matter of fact. One of the smartest quarterbacks. He would manipulate guys formationally to figure out what they were playing defensively. So, yes, Phillip Rivers. But if you look at Andrew Luck, if you look at Jacoby Brissett, you see different offenses from Indianapolis because of what they went through. And Phillip was very static on purpose. That's what he wanted. and he could run the football. He could run the game from the line of scrimmage and do it to the point he won't get in because he didn't win a Super Bowl, but he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, in my opinion.
Good stuff there. Carlos Skywalk. What's up, Sky? Hi, John and Zander. I watched the Kurt Warner video, and he used the phrase choice route and explained a lot. John, have you heard of it? Sky, I did see that video from Kurt. I like Kurt's breakdowns. John, I assume you know what a choice
route. Option route choice. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's chemistry and all that kind of stuff, and you got to be on the same page. But yeah, I mean,
it looked like that's what Devontae did on that big miss that hurt.
Yeah, you got to be on the same page. And that's, if you look at Kurt and his receivers, Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt, both in the Hall of Fame, when you develop that chemistry, best example would be Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison, because they, famously would run the route tree before the game and pregame, and they were always on the same page. That takes a long time to develop that kind of chemistry. But Jalen and even those guys at the highest level, even you have the occasional miscommunication, not being on the same page, but very rarely. But yeah, when those guys are humming and everybody's on the same page, you get the greatest show on turf. Doesn't happen very often, as you'll notice.
Sorry, Jeff never got the link. It might be in his spam. Let me text him. All right, good stuff there. Skywalk, thank you, brother. He followed up and he just said, sorry, John, I phrased my question wrong. Sky, if you want to put in the chat, you don't have to super chat. It's just what you meant to ask. You can do that. Joshua, what's up, Joshua? John excuses KP, but this year both pass and run games are bad. Hurts the line play apart, but KP's predictable scheme and lack of adjustments hurt the most.
Yeah, I've been very good. I say 100% of the time, and Zander can confirm this, players first. I put players first during successful times, and I put players first during negative times, because they're first. They're on the field. They're performing. When the Eagles are successful, they've been successful this year. Not enough, but they've been successful this year. So, the players did it. Can't have it both ways. That's all I'm saying. And then you want to make every excuse in the book and blame it on guys who aren't even on the field. When, as the previous commenter just brought up that what was it, Kevin Patullo's fault that Devontae Smith was wide open and he and Jalen Hurts weren't on the same page? I mean, where's players first? Always.
Here's Ryan, negative. Josh says, if we lose to the Bills, Chargers, and split with Washington, lose the NFC East and get bounced in the wild card, I better see Nick and KP fired. Oh, boy.
Yeah, well, good luck yet finding the next one. You go back to Andy Reid and tell me which coach and play caller you liked. I'd love to hear that.
John, how bad does it have to get for a big change to happen? Remember, we are 1 year.
If they don't win the NFC East and get bounced right away, because they're going to make the playoffs.
We think we're going to make the playoffs. Right? They're 8-4. They got 8 wins. I mean, I guess if they really lost,
they're going to make the playoffs.
They can't lose out, right?
They're going to make the playoffs. The Raiders are coming in. Trey Lance might be playing on Monday night. They're going to.
All right, I'm just saying this team it's not who they're playing, it's how they're playing.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's who you're playing. Even more so. Yeah, they're going to make the playoffs, but yeah, if they get bounced, certainly there's going to be scapegoats. I mean, that's Jeffrey's history. It's not going to be Nick, I don't think. Nick will get 1 year at least, but yeah, he'll have to fire a couple guys. KP will probably be number 1.
Here's Crash Out Kev. John, you said Saquon isn't a star versus team trash O-line. I don't know. I have no idea what it appears you are a crash out, because I have no idea what the hell you're even trying to say.
Well, the offensive line hasn't played well, but Saquon hasn't played well either. And there was a long history of Saquon before he came to Philadelphia that people ignore. Good player, not a great player. Last year was the outlier. This year is more Giants Saquon.
That's fair.
Got some good, got some bad.
Yeah, no doubt.